Hello, students. This is Miss Colson. We are going to be focusing on how sound and meaning can make our stories more meaningful. So, our learning target says describing the special ways that authors use words and sounds will help you get more meaning from stories you read. The authors use words in special ways. They may use repetition or repeated words and ideas to show that something is important. Authors also use words that begin with the same letter or sound, like gray goose. This is called alliteration. Repetition and alliteration can add meaning to stories. They can also make the sentences fun to read. So we've just learned about two different words, vocabulary words that are going to be important. Repetition, and that's repeated words or ideas. And alliteration, and that's words that begin with the same sound or letter, like in gray goose. Now we are going to look at some sentences below in pictures, and we're going to look at how the writers used words and sounds in special ways. Our first picture shows a chick, and he's saying, "The sky is falling, the sky is falling." Our second picture shows a snail, and it says, "The silly snail slid down the rail." When I look at each of those, I am able to see the sky is falling is an example of which one of our vocabulary words. Remember, we looked at repetition and we looked at alliteration. So which one do you think goes with the sky is falling, the sky is falling? That's right, repetition. It repeats the same words over and over again. When I look at this next one, it says, "The silly snail slid down the rail." Which part of that goes with alliteration? We know we've already used repetition. So when I look at this, remember alliteration says that it's words that begin with the same letter or sound, like gray goose. So let's look at this. The silly snail slid down the rail. Silly begins with an S. Snail begins with an S, and slid begins with an S. So that is our example of alliteration. Let's look at a few more examples of alliteration on this anchor chart. Natalie nibbled noodles. Peter the penguin liked pizza and pickles. Sam sipped a strawberry Slurpee. Monkeys make major messes. Bobby blows big blue bubbles. Cooks cook cupcakes quickly. Remember earlier we said that repetition is when an author uses repeated words or ideas to make an important point. So we're going to look at the poem, What I Wish, and we're going to look for repeated words and phrases. And then we're going to focus on how those repeated words give meaning to the poem. I wish that I were older so I could go to work. I'd make lots of money to buy myself a shirt. I wish that I were older so I could buy a car. I'd drive my car all day until I was very far. I wish that I were older. Cars and jobs seem neat, but living with mom and dad really can't be beat. So let's think about it. Were there any words or phrases that were repeated? You're right. The words or phrases that were repeated were, I wish that I were older. I wish that I were older. I wish that I were older. So when we think about that repeated phrase, how did that give meaning to this poem? What was the author trying to get across, the point that he was getting across? You're right. He's saying he wishes that he were older. And then he gives examples of all the different things that he would do if he were older. So the main point that he was trying to make by repeating those phrases is that we know he wishes he were older. Good job with our activity today. You worked on describing the special ways that authors use words and sounds and how they can help you make more meaning of words in stories.